bam, there's like no news, and then out of nowhere, three pretty big spoilers. Walden Media recently held a Narnia summit where they showed a bunch of footage from Don Treader to some Christian leaders and C.S. Lewis experts, and some people from fan sites like Narnia Web and Narnia Fans. Tyrion from Narnia Web was there, and Paul from Narnia Fans was there. You can read their reports online. They didn't really give a lot of specifics about the footage. There weren't really any spoilers in their reports. Then Christianity Today posted something with a lot more details. And one of these spoilers is very good. One of them is probably good, but we'll see. And then the third one is probably bad. And first off, let me just say that the reaction to the footage was extremely positive from both Tyrion and Paul and pretty much everyone they talked to. Even those that didn't like the first two films seemed very encouraged by the footage. So that's obviously cool. But I'm going to skip to the end here and talk to the big spoiler. Because that's the stuff that's going to take the longest time to talk about. Then if I have time, I'll talk about the other ones. If not, save them for another video. But, so apparently we're finally getting some more concrete plot details here about Don Treader. And they're adding some part of the quest to where not only do they have to find the seven lords, but they have to find their seven swords. No idea why. There's obviously some piece of information we're missing. But the mission involves trying to find the seven swords. One of the reasons this kind of a red flag goes up, or what red flag went up when I heard that, is that if I wasn't really sure why at first. Like, wait a minute, why is that wrong? And I realized it's because it seems like it's changing Caspian's motivation. It shouldn't be like, why do they all set out on this journey? Well, on paper it's to find the seven lords. Why do they want to find the seven lords? Because I think it's really sort of an extension of the ending of Prince Caspian, which is all about righting what was wronged. What was wrong has been set right again. Continuing that into Don Treader, we have Caspian, who I think must feel this personal sense of responsibility that his people, messed up Narnia so much, one of those things being sending the seven lords away. So now that he's king, he feels like, well, the first thing I've got to do is try to right all the wrongs that Miraz committed. And the seven lords are part of that. He promised Aslan he would do that. So it's really out of a sense of personal responsibility that Caspian does this. And but really, I said this before. I mean, that's just Caspian's motivation. I think a much more important reason why this could be bad, and this is very much tied to the unfathomable fate thing from the synopsis, where they're trying to make the journey about more than just the seven lords, because I guess the seven lords is not a compelling enough reason, or a sexy enough reason, or not epic enough, or whatever. It's not cool enough for a movie. And so they're trying to make it about this journey to save Narnia from some unfathomable fate and find these seven swords for some reason. And the problem with this is that what makes Don Treader work is it's two things. I think it's some really compelling characters. You get caught up in what they're going through, especially Caspian, Lucy, and Eustace. You get to see the changes in them. And second, this very universal idea of a longing for one's true home, of feeling like you don't belong and that you were made for something else. That's a theme that's, I think, even stronger, shown in The Horse and His Boy. But Reepicheep especially feels this. He feels there's got to be something else out there. The spell of this song he's heard, it's been on him his whole life, he says. And I think that's something that most people can relate to on some level. The need to find something of lasting value. And Reepicheep keeps find your true home. I think, in a nutshell, what's Don Treader about? The longing for one's true home and ultimately the joy of finding it. Even though there's a very, very, very episodic plot and there's no mission to save Narnia or anything cool like that, why is it the majority of Narnia fans have it as their favorite book? Why? Because you get into those characters, you get into that universal idea, you get caught up in the mystery of it. The Seven Lords really they only add to that longing to know what's out there for me as a reader, because the Seven Lords left and they never came back. Why? It's a mystery. It only makes you even more you want to know what's out there. Because it's Narnia. It could be anything. It could be good. It could be bad. It could be anything. And there's this excitement, and it's a little bit eerie that anything could be out there, and there's this wonderful sense of mystery about it. That's what makes the story work. And Lewis, being such a great storyteller, could pull all that off and keep your interest even though there's no epic quest to save Narnia. So when I hear about them adding, and they have to save Narnia from some unfathomable fate thing, and they have to find the Lord's seven swords for some reason, a red flag goes up, because it sounds like, okay, it sounds like they're trying to take the easy way out here. Instead of creating really compelling characters, instead of getting audiences caught up in this very, sort of universal emotion, not the easiest thing to do. It takes a very skilled storyteller to do that. Instead of doing that, they're saying, well, let's make it about some quest to save Narnia and find these lost 7 swords for some reason. Anybody can do that. Anybody can say, oh, they're just trying to save the world. That's why they're doing it, and that's why you should care about this. Anyone can do that, but Lewis didn't do that. He did it through the characters and this wonderful idea of a longing for one's true home. That's so easy to relate to. It's such a deep emotional concept. And that's what makes Dawn Treader, I think, most people's favorite book, even though there's no epic struggle to save Narnia from anything. I think part of adapting a book should be to figure out, well, what is so great about the book, especially a classic book. Why do people love this book? Why is it such a classic? And find a way to translate that to film. And with Dawn Treader, it's the characters, and it's this idea that that's what carries the story. And so it sounds like they're really shifting the focus of the story dramatically by saying, oh, it's got to be about saving Narnia. So that's the bad news, probably. Let's go back to the beginning here. The great news, according to Kathy Keller, the final interaction between Aslan and Lucy was basically unchanged, and she considers it the pinnacle of the entire 7 books. Not sure if I'd go that far. But and then Tyrion from Narnia Web confirmed that the actual words, "There I have another name," are in the film, word for word. The reason this is such an important part of the ending is that without that, it just ends. It's just, well, you're too old for Narnia, see you later, that's it, journey's over, bye, it's done. Whereas if you have this idea that no, they can somehow continue to know, because it's important to note that Lucy says it's not leaving Narnia that makes it difficult, the parting difficult, it's Aslan. It's that they'll never get to see Aslan again. And but the fact that Aslan says, no, you can still know me, and in fact, the reason you were brought here is by knowing me a little better. By knowing me better here, you can know me better in your world. So it's sort of a to be continued. It makes it a kind of sad, but a much more hopeful ending. Without that, it's just, see you later, you're never coming to Narnia again, you're never going to see me again, and that's it, end of story. So this is a really crucial piece of the ending. And the reason there's been a lot of discussion about this, of are they going to include this in the film, is that this is a pretty obvious Aslan equals Jesus moment. This is the most obvious, in my opinion. So there was some question about it, is Walden Media going to have the balls to do this? And it's really great that they do. And so this is an overwhelmingly awesome piece of news. I'm really happy that they have the courage to do this. Nice to see them actually taking a risk. So that's extremely awesome, obviously. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. That's awesome. Then the second one is about, apparently the undragoning of Eustace happens pretty much the same way it does in the book. I mean, it might make some changes, but it seems like, Tyrion confirms that we're actually going to see Aslan ripping the skin off of Eustace. And also, apparently, the screenwriters originally had this idea that Eustace would have to earn his humanity back by fighting the sea serpent. And then Michael Flaherty set him straight and said, no, that's not how the book works. The whole point is that Eustace is stuck-up know-it-all, what we've known for the whole book, has to lie down and say, I can't do it, Aslan, you're going to have to do it, because I'm helpless. And such a powerful character moment for him, that really shows how he's changed. So it sounds like, well, at least thematically, it sounds like they at least know what they're talking about and they're on the right track. As far as actually seeing him, we're actually going to see Aslan rip the skin away from Eustace's dragon body. The reason I'm a little concerned about that is I've actually been saying for some time, you know what, the way that Eustace is undragoned in the book, they might need to reimagine that for the film. Because, hey, it's one thing to just say it in a book, it's another thing to visualize it. Even in the book, it's a pretty weird, bizarre scene. I think Lewis gets away with it because it has this almost poetic, very dreamlike quality to it, the way it's written. Even Eustace himself is not sure if it was a dream or not. And Edmund tells him, yeah, I think it was real because of Aslan. So that's one thing where I've said, well, as long as they honor these two fundamental ideas of it's about Eustace lying down and saying, I can't do it, you're gonna have to undragon me, and that second idea, and the second idea I think is that it's a painful process for Eustace being changed back. As long as they honor those two ideas, I'd be very open to them reimagining it and coming up with something that's a method of transforming him back that might work better for film. But it sounds like they're not going to do that. I mean, they'll have to see. This is all we know is we're going to see that. Maybe there will be other changes, So this could be good. If they can find a way to do this, to do it as it is in the book, and make it work on film, I love to be proven wrong. I love for them to do that. I'm just not sure how they would do it. So probably good news, but we'll see how it's executed. So the countdown continues. After the big long news drought, it's nice to have some three pretty big spoilers that we can discuss.